I have a question for you. Are you a risk taker? Would you consider yourself a risk taker? And even if you do consider yourself a risk taker, are you in the habit of taking risks, perceived risks, but you're not getting the results that you want? Like, what the heck? I know. Risks? I'm with you. I used to think the exact same way. What do you think of when I even say the word risk? For me, I would have told you that I would have been talking about potential failure. Does that resonate with you? I felt bad about risks, negative. There's a really good chance that I could lose in the end. And that wasn't something I was interested in. I was very much loss averse. And do you know where that stemmed from? My fear of criticism, my fear of poverty. What if I lose? What if I don't get what I want? Okay. And it's actually, there's a theory about this, and it was developed back in the 1970s. And it talks about what it means to have been given a choice. And most people, when this research was done, if they were given a choice, people would rather not choose the thing that might have them lose, but rather they would choose where they would gain. Okay. So loss aversion, it's often talked about in relationship to money, but you actually see it being played out in all kinds of scenarios, right? Some people stay in relationships that are destructive rather than walk away. Others will gamble themselves into a deeper hole, trying to win back their losses. And many, many, many people, myself included, up until 9 years ago, remain in a career that is absolutely stifling and depresses them instead of making the leap into doing something different. The pain of losing something is more dangerous to them, is more acute than the pleasure that they could have by gaining. So what about you? How do you make your decisions? Are there areas of your life that you are having a hard time just cutting your losses? And I would arguably even say, are they losses? If you're cutting off something to potentially get more? And I only say potentially because that's up to you. Is there a job, a relationship, a project that you keep investing time and effort into, in spite of the fact that your investment is no longer paying you a return? Because the alternative to giving that up is scary. It can be a really frightening proposition to walk away from what you know. Okay, whether the other side of whatever that is known or unknown. Yes, it's a risk. But think about this, the choice to remain in the losing situation, in the situation that's literally sucking the life out of you. Wouldn't you say that arguably is also a risk? Potentially a much greater risk than the alternative? right? Like you are taking untold risks by continuing to go down a negative path. By continuing to stay in that relationship or stay in that job or stay, in the financial situation that you're in, stay in your current health. That's arguably also a big risk. I was talking to someone yesterday that, and of course, like most people, it's like COVID's the reason why, which that's not the reason why. We just developed habits over those 2 years, right? Well, I gained all this weight. And I said, well, do you want to lose it? And she said, well, that means that I would have to do this. And we started talking about habit changing. At the end of the day, nothing's going to change with her unless she makes a decision to do that. Oh, well, my finances were also impacted. Okay, well, do you want them to change? Because you have to make a decision that you want something different in order for that to change too. And it's so interesting to me how people will choose to stay in the discomfort purely because it appears safer. And guys, it's no judgment because I remember being there. I stayed I worked at a hospital for 15 years. And it took like a lot of me going back and forth in my head, weighing all the pros and cons for me to give up my super safe, cushy, 6-figure a year pension benefits, all the shiny lights job that I didn't love and wasn't having the impact I wanted to have, to then move into being an entrepreneur. And when that happens, when you make the decision, again, for me, it was the job. For you, it might be with your health or a relationship or with your bank account, period. Okay. For me, it was the job. And a lot of well-meaning people, when I had made the decision, decided to come in with their own belief system. They believed I was nuts. They did. And that's okay because that was their opinion based on their belief system. I never looked at them and said, you're wrong. I just said, that's not what I believe. I don't believe I'm taking a risk. I believe me staying in this job for another 15 years, every day, not fulfilling what I desire, that is a bigger risk than what I'm about to do. And I promise you, when you start actually weighing your risk, because either way, like I said, either way, it's a risk. But when you just know that the way that you're moving is going to get you what you actually want and living the life that you want to live, you'll know that it's worth it. And what happens then is then you can borrow the belief from that and apply it to all the areas of your life. I've now also never been healthier. My relationships have never been stronger. Okay? The situation feels safer, and it's not necessarily the safe one at all. Okay? Think of the gambler who just put down 50 or 100, but instead finds himself owing thousands at the end of the night. All because he was trying to save himself from the comparatively minor pain of that initial loss. Oh, I can't say that whatever. And again, yours might not be gambling money, but what are you gambling with? Are you gambling with your health? Are you gambling with your bank account, with your work? How might your losses on that front be further compounded 1, 5, 10 years down the road? Are you willing to live like that? For me, when I asked myself that question, am I willing to do this for another 15 years so that I can get a pension? Not when I know I can take the pension that I have, do really cool things with it. And honestly, within the first year, we made that money back. Like we doubled it, like more than what I would have made had it sat there for 15 years. But you don't think of that. You don't think of all the things that you could do with the money when you're programmed that you got to tell people you have the pension. You got to tell people you got the pension. Guys, guess what? I don't have a pension. But I think if you looked at my bank account, you would be like, that's really sweet. And that's not to impress you, but it's to impress upon you that when you go with the risk that might seem scary in the moment, when you can see what it'll do for you down the road, and you can go, that's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. You'll know that it's a risk worth taking. Like, what really causes people to shy away from even taking risks? Even if it's a low risk. I'm not saying everybody's going to leave their job, leave their relationship. For most people's lists of their fears and their losses, this equals perceived humiliation. And like I said, mine was definitely linked to my fear of criticism. I had a big fear of criticism and a big fear of poverty. Why would we automatically think that we would even fail at something? So the thing you're thinking of right now that you're like, oh, I've always wanted to do this, but I never did it. Why did you not do it? Well, what if I lose is what popped into your mind. Well, why did you think you would lose? What even gave you that idea? Right? You're never going to lose. You learn from an experience and you move on. Has the last 9 years of being an entrepreneur been rainbows and unicorns? Nope. But I can tell you that you win when you don't quit. Okay? And you got to look at what is even causing that inferiority in your mind. If you looked back over your entire life, you would see exactly where it stems from. Okay? Like risk taking has been happening your entire life. Like, and this isn't taught in school, but it should be. It would lead a lot of people to be making different decisions. Okay, but when you were a child and you were taking your first steps, I can guarantee I wasn't there. I was like, I don't remember taking my first steps, but I can guarantee I fell on my face a few times. But what do we do when kids are learning to walk? We're like, oh, good job, you're doing great. Get back up, do it again. We cheer them on. We cheer them on because we know, like, gosh, like I've been walking now for a few years and it's worked out for me. Let me cheer you on. But our kids start doing things that maybe we fell and it hurt us, or it has a perceived danger to it constantly. And if you guys are parents, I want you to count how many times in a day you tell your kids to be careful. Be careful. Don't do that. You'll ... And you do it by habit. You don't really pay much attention to why you're doing it, but you just be careful, be careful. And as an adult, then we get all of these like that. Like I said, the fear of poverty and the fear of criticism are usually your two biggest fears, okay? For the perceived risk. But when you're an adult, instead of going, oh, you're doing great, get back up, do it again, we don't do that. We go, see, I told you shouldn't have done that. I told you should have caved to my belief system. Told you that wouldn't work out. Are you nuts? Did you think of this, and this? We constantly, instead of cheering people on, we are pushing our garbage on them. We push it on them. Okay, I'm telling you, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Love that quote. A little ancient wisdom for you. Okay, because either way, the next 6 months, next year, the next 10 years of your life, they're coming. They're coming and they're going. How are you going to spend them? What are you avoiding? Okay, risk is unavoidable. Like I said, either way, you are risking something. You are either risking staying the same or you are risking changing and getting everything you ever wanted. The key is to take the risks that are moving you forward. Forget about what's happened up until this point. Okay? Cut your losses, get it done. Done. Stop them from continuing. Don't get all caught up in it and replay it over and over. Just stop. Accept it, move on. Okay? Starting now, as my kids would say, starting now, make a move in the direction that's going to get you to the life that you want to live. Take a risk that's going to move you forward, not backwards. And a lot of people would say, well, Delynn, I don't move backwards. I just stay the same. That's also moving backwards, because guess what? You're not designed as a human. Nothing in this world is designed to stay still. I'm looking out over the ocean right now, and that water's moving. Like, it's moving. It's designed to move. Wouldn't that be weird if you went to the beach and it was like, la, la, the waves just like stayed there and they were in and out? No, they don't. Okay? You are meant to be moving forward. You were designed that way. That's why I talk to people every day and I'm like, tell me what's going on. And they're like, I feel stuck. I feel stuck. I'm like, yeah, yep, sounds about right. Because you're not moving forward. You have to know where you're going, and you have to be willing to become the person that that is doing those things. Okay, quit playing it safe. It is the risk takers. It is the people that are willing to bet on themselves to move themselves forward. These are the people that win. They win, and they win big every single time. And you get to decide what big is. It could be $1 million. It could be the relationship that you desire. It could be the health that you desire. But you get to decide how this all plays out. No more leaving it up to anybody else or anything else to decide for you. No more letting the fact that you were programmed that this is the way your life has to look. This is what you have to call yourself successful. It's not true. It's not true. And if you want to be hanging out with the 98% of the population that is not getting the results that they desire, go nuts. Or you can come hang out with us in the 2% Club, where we are doing what 98% of the people aren't doing. I want you to set a goal. I want you to decide who is the person that has that goal. And even if it feels scary, I want you to do it anyway. Do it anyway. Deal? Deal. Have an awesome day, you guys. Thank you for joining me. And if this resonated with you, I'm going to link up my calendar, and I want you guys to book a call. Let's chat about it. Deal? See you guys.